different feeling when you're playing Mike, because you just knew there was such a competitiveness and fire in him.
Michael played today.
Yeah.
He probably averaged almost 50 a game.
Larry Bird would put fear in me and everyone else.
McHale back to Bird. Larry stops, jumper, good!
My mind just goes to the, damn, this white guy can play.
That was my chance to get in the category of Larry Bird and Magic Johnson.
Here they go again, it's showtime! Magic down the middle, the shoulder pass, AC underneath.
A lot of passion, and it makes me work even harder to get to the level that Magic, Michael, Bird, Julius.
A completely unnecessary foul by Lambeer, and he has the audacity to complain about something. They have been called a dirty ball club, and I can see why.
The NBA has been around for almost a century, and the sport of basketball has been around for even longer than that. Throughout this wide time frame, we've seen the game go through countless changes. I believe from the day the NBA was founded to the current day, there have been 6 unique eras of the game. These 6 eras capture the different changes of players, teams, playstyles, strategies, and culture. And today, we're going to look at what I like to call the golden era, which spans from the years of 1980 to 1998, and this time represents a revival of the NBA. During the 70s, the NBA was going downhill. Everything was getting out of hand. There were constant fights, the majority of the league was on drugs, the NBA had very little marketable superstars, the ABA was taking away their audience. The 80s was one of the most crucial times for the league. The likes of new superstars saved the league from anarchy. Magic Johnson and Larry Bird quite literally saved the league. Both of these legends made their NBA debut in 1979, and both made a huge impact on the league right away. Let's start off with Magic Johnson. Magic Johnson had one of the most impressive early basketball careers. He won a state championship for his high school, won a national championship with Michigan State, and won an NBA championship and a Finals MVP, all within 3 years. And with that, the Showtime Lakers were born. The Showtime Lakers completely changed the game. They brought excitement to the NBA, which was in desperate need of it. The Showtime Lakers made the game of basketball a unique show that attracted a huge audience. The Showtime Lakers influenced the playstyle of the whole league, diverting it from a fundamental game to a more flashy and fast-paced game. The Showtime Lakers won 5 championships in 1980, 82, 85, 87, and 88. Magic Johnson was a pretty influential player to the game. Magic Johnson paved the way for bigger players to play on the perimeter. He broke many of the barriers of height and size being directly correlated to position. He also pushed the evolution of ball handling and passing to the next level. The Showtime Lakers, besides Magic, had great players like Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, James Worthy, Byron Scott, AC Green, and Michael Cooper. During the same time, we saw one of the greatest rivalries take place. The Larry Bird Celtics also left a heavy mark on the league in the 1980s. Larry Bird was drafted in 1978, but chose to play his senior year at Indiana State, so his first year was also in 1979, and Larry Bird made an impact right away. Larry Bird in his rookie season averaged 21 points a game and led his Celtics to the Eastern Conference Finals. In the year after that, in 1981, they won the NBA Finals. Larry Bird was a pioneer for the modern game which we know today. The three-pointer was created in 1979 during Larry Bird's rookie season, and it seemed like a gimmick at the time. But Larry Bird was very good at shooting threes, shooting 40% from 3 his rookie year. Larry Bird was just ahead of his time. He was the original three-point sharpshooter. He was the Steph Curry of his era. Larry Bird, with his deadly three-pointer, helped to pave the way for the explosion of three-pointers we've seen recently. The Larry Bird Celtics versus the Showtime Lakers was a classic rivalry of the NBA. These two teams met with each other in the NBA Finals 3 times, in 1984, 1985, and 1987. The Lakers won 2 of these 3 matchups in 1985 and 87, while the Celtics won in 84. These two teams were so good that every year throughout the 80s, one or both of these two teams were in the finals every year. That's incredible. The only other time we've seen this from a duo is LeBron and Curry with a time frame of 2011 to 2020. Magic and Bird weren't the only 2 superstars from this era though. Once these two teams were inevitably done with their reign, new teams took their place. And in the late 80s, the Bad Boy Pistons were the next successor. And the Bad Boy Pistons were a very unique team. The Bad Boy Pistons were a very physical, gritty, and hard-nosed team. And I stress the very in that sentence. This team was built around physical play. When people talk about how soft the NBA is today and how physical it was back then, they're referring to this team. They represent the rough edges the 80s and 90s basketball had. The Bad Boy Pistons were the villain of the NBA. If you didn't love them, you hated them. They were mainly led by all-time great point guard Isaiah Thomas, but had other great players around them like Joe Dumars, Bill Laimbeer, Dennis Rodman, and Rick Mahorn. Another prominent rivalry of the 80s was the Pistons versus Celtics in the late 80s and early 90s. These teams met in the NBA playoffs 5 times in 7 seasons, from 1985 to 91, with the Celtics winning in 85 and 87 and the Pistons coming out on top in 88, 89, and 91. The Pistons won 2 championships in 88 and 89. The 80s decade of basketball saw the emergence and dominance of many other superstars. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Karl Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, Kevin McHale, Adrian Dantley. But there was one superstar who stood out amongst them. His name was Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was different. MJ was a force to be reckoned with right away in the league. In his rookie year, Jordan put up 28 points on 51% shooting, 6 boards, 6 assists, and 2 steals. The man was amazing. A young Michael Jordan may have been the most exciting thing we've ever seen in NBA history. He was just electrifying. Jordan's entertaining style of basketball brought a huge audience with him. Jordan helped expand the NBA to new heights. Him, along with Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, are responsible for making the sport as popular as it is today. MJ's freakish athleticism, coupled with his uncanny ability to score the basketball, made him a special player to watch. Michael Jordan played the game with a flashy edge and had unmatched creativity. MJ led the league in scoring 10 times in his career. During his earlier years, where he really showed off his ability to score, putting up averages as high as 37 points a game during one season. Although Jordan put up the best stats earlier in his career, he found little to no team success. Jordan, throughout the late 80s, was putting up all-time great numbers, but was constantly losing to teams like the Celtics and Pistons in the East in the playoffs. Eventually, in 1987, the Bulls drafted forward Scottie Pippen, and this was a game changer for the Jordan Bulls, because by the time Pippen was fully developed, a second star like him put the Bulls over the hump in the early 90s. In 1991, Michael Jordan won his very first NBA championship, shutting down the narrative that he couldn't lead a team to a championship. And this was followed by another 2 championships in 1992 and 93, capping off his three-peat. MJ was on top of the basketball world and made a very pivotal decision. At the end of the 1993 season, Michael Jordan decided to announce his early retirement from the game to play baseball instead.
Everyone knows exactly what the circumstances are right now in terms of my decision not to play the game of basketball in the NBA. Doesn't mean I'm not going to play basketball somewhere else, but...
This decision put the world into shock. The NBA's golden boy, out of nowhere, decided to give away the reign of the league. During this lucky break for the league, we saw new teams take the basketball throne. In 1994, the Houston Rockets beat the New York Knicks in the NBA Finals. Hakeem Olajuwon established himself as a true superstar. Unfortunate for the rest of the league, though. Michael Jordan decided to make his legendary return to the league during the middle of the 1995 season. The ridiculous amount of popularity and excitement felt by one superstar of the league was evident. We've never seen a more captivating superstar in the NBA like Michael Jordan. But Jordan in the 1995 playoffs reminded everyone that he was human. Because in the 1999 NBA postseason, the Jordan Bulls lost in the second round to the Orlando Magic. But of course, this didn't stop the Bulls, because in the years of 1996 to 98, the Bulls went on their second three-peat. The Jordan-Pippen-Rodman duo was unstoppable at the time. Michael Jordan, to be quite honest, really spoiled the legacies of countless superstars. Numerous all-time greats from this era walked away without a title. Clyde Drexler, a shooting guard from the Blazers, was often compared to Mike. They both had a very similar stature, had extraordinary athleticism, and an exciting element to their game. MJ beat Drexler and the Blazers in the finals in 1992, and this was the closest Portland got to success. Charles Barkley was another superstar that was out of luck. Barkley was a chunky power forward that knew how to rebound the ball well. I mean, his nickname was the Mound Round of Rebound. He played for the 76ers, Suns, and Rockets in that order. During the 1993 NBA Finals, the Phoenix Suns were taken down by the MJ Bulls, the closest Barkley ever got to a ring. Shawn Kemp and Gary Payton from the Seattle Supersonics also never got a ring thanks to Michael Jordan. The closest they got was losing in the NBA Finals in 1996. Another legendary duo that could never get it done was John Stockton and Karl Malone from the Utah Jazz, the league's pioneer for the pick and roll, but they lost to the Bulls in 97 and 98. Some other notable stars to talk about are Reggie Miller and Shaquille O'Neal. Reggie Miller, the prolific shooter from the Pacers, never even got to sniff an NBA Finals while Michael Jordan was in the league. The closest he got was Game 7 of the Eastern Conference Finals in 1998. And Shaquille O'Neal, although he did achieve 4 championships during his career, they all came once MJ was out of the league. The duo of Shaq and Penny had so much potential to win championships, but injuries and the reign of MJ really stopped anything from happening. There were so many great stars from the 90s because of the MJ Bulls ruthlessly dominating. We never really hear about these guys. I don't really think we've seen this to the same magnitude that we saw during the 90s. Sure, every era has its dynasty that takes the identity of its era, but Jordan's Bulls just did it better. Michael Jordan not only dominated the game, but also dominated outside of the game. Jordan became the first NBA superstar that was a global icon. People from around the world knew the name Michael Jordan. This was completely new and unheard of at the time. MJ significantly impacted the culture of the game. Once again, basketball became so much more popular as a sport because of the excitement of Jordan. Every kid wanted to be like Mike. The Air Jordan shoes were revolutionary for basketball culture. They were the first basketball shoes that made its way from the court to streetwear and pop culture. Even to this day, Jordans are one of the most iconic and desirable streetwear shoes. Basketball at this time was a prospering sport. People were just more satisfied with the NBA during this era than any other era. Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals had the most views of any NBA game ever, with an astonishing 35.89 million. This was also the most viewed series, with a total of 173.95 million views. That's insane when you realize the 2022 NBA Finals got 74.41 million views. The TV ratings in the golden era were also better than any other time frame. Game 6 of the 1998 NBA Finals is also the highest rated NBA game of all time at 22.3. The series average rating was 18.7. If you compare it to the recent NBA, the 2022 NBA Finals only had an average rating of 6.6. The league's revenue during this time also improved heavily. Although it's hard to find actual concrete numbers of the league's money, I have found pictures just like this one that shows just how much the NBA has grown. The league literally increased its income from 1984 to 2013 by 20 times. And if you guys know a thing or two about NBA history, you would recognize that this is David Stern's time frame as the commissioner of the NBA. David Stern really deserves his flowers for taking the NBA to what it is today. David Stern was hired when the league was still going through reputation problems and a way smaller audience, and fixed both of those problems. He worked to address issues related to player conduct and image, giving the NBA a better reputation. Stern was key to the marketing and branding of the NBA. He actively sought out to promote superstars like Magic, Bird, and Jordan. And he created marketing campaigns such as NBA It's Fantastic and I Love This Game, which helped bring in new audiences. He also made smart TV deals like partnering with ABC and ESPN, which drastically helped the league's revenue. Finally, during this time, we saw the expansion of new teams. From 1980 to 1998, we saw the Hornets, the Heat, the Magic, the Timberwolves, the Raptors, and the Grizzlies all founded. If you want to see how the NBA almost took a turn for the worst after Michael Jordan's retirement, how new superstars took over and left lasting changes in the league, and how the NBA still held onto pieces of the old while embracing pieces of the modern game, I would highly recommend you watch this next video.